They call it a healing factor, but I call it a curse. I have stormed beaches in Normandy, crawled through mud in Vietnam, and froze in the trenches of the Argonne. The uniform changes and the enemy changes, but the smell of blood stays the same. The worst part isn't the pain. It's that I am the only one who walks away. Living forever is not a gift. Sit down and listen to what it costs to survive when everyone you know ends up in the ground. My name used to be James Howlett, but that boy died a long time ago. The first time I truly felt the weight of this was 1861, during the American Civil War. They handed us muskets and told us we were fighting for the Union. Or maybe it was the Confederacy? History books draw neat lines between North and South, but when you stand in a field of smoke and choke on gunpowder, the gray and the blue look exactly the same, because they all bleed red. Victor was there, and he loved the chaos and the screaming. I just remember the cold. We took cannon fire that would have buried a normal man. I woke up hours later, pulling shrapnel out of my chest while watching the sun rise over a field of corpses. That was the first lesson. War ends for everyone else, but for me, it is just a Tuesday. 50 years later, the weapons got louder and the world got uglier. It was 1918, during the Meuse-Argonne offensive, which they called the war to end all wars. The trenches were graves we lived in before we died. Mud, the consistency of glue mixed with mustard gas that burned your lungs out. I watched 18 and 19-year-old kids drown in that filth. A German machine gun cut me in half on the second day, and I lay there for 6 hours while my spine knitted itself back together. That sensation feels like fire. While I healed, I listened to the silence fall over the forest. 26,000 Americans died in that campaign, but I walked out, because I always walk out. By June 6, 1944, I was on Omaha Beach. You have seen movies like Saving Private Ryan, which get the noise right, but miss the smell of salt water, diesel fuel, and fear. We hit the beach at dawn, and the water turned pink the moment the ramp dropped. I took a round to the head before I even got off the boat. I woke up underwater before dragging myself onto the sand to keep moving. That is the job. You keep moving. We pushed inland to liberate towns that had been crushed under the boot for years. People cheered and threw flowers, but I looked at their faces and saw the same relief and terror I saw in 1861. They knew, just like I did, that peace is merely the intermission between wars. I am stopping here for a second because this video exists due to the people in the comments asking for the darker side of these stories. If you want us to cover the what-if timeline where I never joined the X-Men, then let me know below. Hit subscribe if you are still watching because we have a lot of history to cover. On August 9th, 1945, I found myself in a hole in the ground at a POW camp near Nagasaki. There was a terrified guard named Yoshida. The sirens started wailing for an air raid, but this was not like the others. I saw one plane before the sky tore open. It wasn't an explosion so much as the sun touching the earth. I threw the metal cover over that pit and took all the heat. My skin burned off and my muscles cooked until I was just a skeleton, screaming in the dark. Then the itching started as my body knitted itself back together. I saved Yoshida that day, thinking I was doing a good thing. Kindness has a way of coming back to bite you decades later. Vietnam was different because there were no front lines and no clear enemy. There was just humidity that stuck to you like a second skin and a jungle that wanted to eat you alive. We were ghosts rather than heroes. Victor was losing it by then because the bloodlust took the wheel. I tried to keep him in check, but you cannot discipline a rabid dog. We were executed by a firing squad in 1975. 12 men lined us up against a wall and fired 12 bullets. We just stood there, spitting out the lead while waiting for them to reload. That was the moment I stopped caring about the cause. North and South, or communism and democracy, are all just noise when you cannot die. Then came the Metal and Stryker. He promised to make me indestructible, even though I already was. He wanted a weapon rather than a man. They dunked me in a tank before drilling into my bones and pouring hot adamantium into my skeleton. There is no word for that pain. It was existential rather than physical, and it wiped me clean. My memories and name were gone. I woke up with tags that said Wolverine and claws that could cut through a tank. I escaped into the snow, naked and bleeding. The man who went into that tank never really came out, leaving just the animal. I spent years drinking to forget things I could not remember, while fighting in Canadian cages and sleeping in snowbanks. Then, Charles Xavier found me. He talked about hope and a school that felt like a family. I believed him for a while, as we saved the world a few times. I made friends like Scott and Storm, and especially Jean. The problem with family is that when you live forever, you just watch them age. You watch them slow down and break. I buried them, one by one. The school and the dream are gone now, so it is just the road again. By 2029, the world has moved on, and mutants are gone, after being wiped out by chemicals in corn syrup. I am tired. The adamantium is poisoning me, and I can feel it, heavy and sick in my blood. The healing is not what it used to be, so a cut takes a day to close. My hands shake, and the claws do not want to come out, hurting like hell when they do. I drive a limo now and hustle for medication to keep Charles lucid, so his brain does not kill everyone in the tri-state area. This is the glorious end of the superhero. It is not a bang, but a cough in a dusty room. Then Laura showed up. She is angry and violent and alone, just like me. Looking at her is like looking in a mirror from 100 years ago. She gave me one last thing to fight for, which was not a flag or a country, but a person. It was a future that is not mine. We ran and fought. For the first time in a century, I felt fear. I was not afraid for myself, since I have been ready to die since the 1800s, but I was afraid for her. Caring about something enough that losing it would kill you, even if the bullet does not, is what finally breaks the curse. A soldier, a weapon, a hero, a father. I was all of them, and none of them. The wars will keep happening, the world will keep turning. But for the Wolverine, the long watch is finally over. If this story meant something to you, or if you've ever felt like you're fighting a battle that never ends, leave a comment. I read them all. And click that subscribe button to keep these stories alive. Until next time, bub.